name is Marlee, and I'm a creative. My three disciplines are really photography, videography, and music or sound engineering, whatever you want to say. But it's a bit of a long story. Not really a long story, but it's an interesting story how I got into it. Growing up, I grew up an only child, and that makes for boring times most of the time. And I always try to keep myself entertained. I'd have friends over or whatever, but when they leave, you know, it's just me by myself. So one of the things that I would do a lot of is watching movies, and I think that was the introduction to videography. At the time, my biggest influence, my biggest hero was Jim Carrey. He was hilarious. Always knew how to make a person smile, always knew how to make a person laugh, and for someone to have, or to be able to have that much influence over, you know, someone else's actions, I thought it was godlike, honestly. So I kind of aspired to be like him. I wanted to be an actor at first, and when I realized that acting was a little bit harder simply because you had to get in front of people, which is something that I didn't like to do, I kind of stopped that desire of being an actor. But I realized that there was a whole different component to, you know, movie making magic, and that was the behind the scenes stuff. You know, I got to watch like E.T., and I realized when I watched the behind the scenes how they had this mechanical type puppet but brought him to life on a screen. And so I began emulating Steven Spielberg and different directors like him, and trying to figure out how I could bring someone's vision or my own vision to life and be able to translate my thoughts or their thoughts to other people, the people who were watching. So just being alone and just being that loner kid was how I got into videography. But the other disciplines were further down the road. And so the music was different for me. It came along at a time when, I mean, let's face it, it was heartbreak. Broke up with a girl, or she broke up with me actually, and I didn't really know how to cope, so I just started writing. And from that writing, music was born. And that's why I think today I still kind of write more towards emotion or love or whatever. That tends to be my theme. For me, the music, as far as the emotion behind it, also ties into photography. Photography for me came along in college. I was studying psychology, hated school. I mean, hated school. And what I did like was the fact that photography allowed me to make money in school. A lot of my friends were broke, just like me, but a couple of them hit me up for the Black Student Union's like dance or something, and they were like, "Hey, we know you just got a camera. Can you know, come through and just take some pictures?" Took pictures of the event, sold them for like $5. I think I made like 25 bucks that night. But I realized I could make some money. A little bit later down the road, I met up with the photographer, the head photographer of the school, and he kind of taught me some things with photography. I fell in love with it, and there goes that whole love thing. And I feel like that all together is what drives my creative process, is love. My love for the art that I do, my love for music or photography, videography, whatever. I always try to show it in my work. So as far as my process goes, I think the thing that really makes me different is that element of love. I don't think a lot of people do it for the same reason that I do it for. I think a lot of people do it for the reason I started doing it, which was, you know, money. I think that sometimes we get, you know, blindsided, and it's easy because we need money, you know what I mean? Like, we need money to survive. I need money to survive. But unless you know, love what you do, you're gonna quit it. Unless you love what you do, you're not gonna be as good at it. And even if I wasn't getting paid for any of the things that I do, I would still like have to do them, just because it's a part of me. So I think that, you know, that's why my approach is different. I think that's why my product is different. I think that's ultimately what drives me. And, you know, like I said, when I started music, really when I started any of the things that I do, it was all out of a need for me to express myself to myself, if that makes sense. It was never for any kind of praise or any adoration from people. So it still is very easy for me to just make something and then just hide it away completely. And I think that was the reason why a lot of people felt like I kind of fell back. And that, I guess it did seem like I fell back, honestly. But to me, it wasn't that I fell back, it was that I didn't really need people anyway, if that makes sense. It's bad to say, but I didn't. You know, if something happens to me, for me to process it, I write music. If something, you know, is beautiful to me, for me to process it, I take pictures or do video of it. So, you know, my need to hold on to that and express that to myself is why I kind of fell back. Now, the reason I came back, the reason I, you know, have started sharing more with people is because of people like David Mapes, John Morse, Ariel Jones, and a bunch of my other friends, Scholar Kuji. They always tell me, you know, you're dope, you need to share it. And I think after a while of hearing that, they've been getting on my nerves, and just to shut them up, I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna put it out. I'm just kidding, not to shut them up, but to shut them up, yes. So yeah, I just started putting stuff out, man, and I feel like right now content is king in the world. I feel like, yeah, content is king, and if content is king, then I feel like visuals is the throne upon which it sits, right? Like, people want to see not only you make it, but they want to see how you did it. And I feel like showing people the process is where I am right now. And that's my main motivation to share. What people have about me is that I don't do music. I think a lot of people know me for photography or videography, those who actually do know me for that. And then that's it. You know, nobody really knows that I do music, and it's probably my fault. Like, I'll put out a song just because it's my way to express me. I'll put it out, and then you won't hear from me for however long. But yeah, this year I'll be a little bit more consistent. I think they'll know that I do music by the end of this year.